Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers as Academy Bengaluru. This is topic of the day. Today we'll discuss one of the most unfortunate and violent event that happened recently. That is a violent beheading of Indian man in USA. Violent beheading of Indian man in USA. We are talking about beheading of an individual in the USA. We are not talking about beheading in any other country. We are talking about beheading in USA. So in today's video, we'll discuss who was the victim and who committed this heinous crime and why are the incidents against Indians are rising in the recent times. So everything will be discussed in today's video. So stay tuned till the end of the video. So violence against Indian diaspora in the USA, recent incidents as well as the implications of this. Context is recently an Indian motel manager called Chandra Nagamallaiah, who actually belongs to Karnataka. He was assassinated or he was murdered or he was beheaded by his colleague in Dallas, Texas. The person who murdered him was an undocumented Cuban immigrant who also used to work in the same motel. In another case, Iryna Zarutska. Who is this Iryna Zarutska? She is a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee. She escaped Ukraine and went to USA for safety purposes. But what happened? She got killed while she was just minding her own business in a train. A person who was sitting behind her with no provocation came and slit her throat, which led to her death. So some of the incidents are very heinous and the violence is rising in USA. Add to that the recent Charlie Kirk death, where he was assassinated in front of more than 3,000 people with a sniper. Okay, if we go on looking into these kind of gun violence and violences in USA, the number is very huge. I already discussed about gun violence in USA and also discussed about the gun violence in USA in September alone. So many incidents were happening in just 1 month itself. So now we'll discuss this with respect to Indian diaspora and the recent incidents. Who was fatally stabbed in a light rail train in Charlotte, raising further alarm over rising public violence in the USA. These incidents have ignited debates around immigration enforcement, public safety, diaspora security, and political rhetoric in the United States. Background: Indian diaspora in the USA. Around 49 lakh people or 4.9 million people of Indian origin live in USA, contributing significantly to its economic, academic, and technological landscape. The community has often expressed concerns about the racial prejudice, hate crimes, and targeted harassment. Recently, hate crime or hate speech against Indians is on all-time high. All-time high. It is at here now. Not only from USA, but from all around the world. If you open x.com or Instagram or any social media for that matter, you will always find all the media posts which are criticizing Indians and many more people commenting under the post calling racial abuses to Indians. And these racial abuses are supported by different people as well. So that is why that is how hate speech against Indians is increasing. Next, the patterns of rising violence. That is, reports indicate rise in hate crimes against South Asians, vandalism of Hindu temples, and cases of unexplained deaths of Indian students, which happened recently in the USA. Next, broader issues such as mental health crisis, homelessness, and crime in the public transit space add to the fears of random attacks. So one thing is the rising hate against the immigrants, one thing is rising hate against the Indians, and the other thing is the issues at the home in USA. That is the rising homelessness, which is adding to the mental trouble and mental torture, which is leading to unprovoked attacks or random attacks. So we'll discuss the key drivers behind the rates of violence. What is leading to the recent violence? First is the immigration enforcement gaps. That is, failure in deportation and monitoring of undocumented immigrants are under sharp criticism. So in this case, where Indian person, that is Chandra Nagamallaiah, was killed, the person who killed him was a Cuban immigrant. Cortez, his name was Cortez. He was working in the same hotel. He was already on the list to be emigrated back to Cuba. He had criminal records and he was all ready to be sent back to Cuba, but Cuba didn't accept him. Once Cuba didn't accept him, he was brought back to USA. Instead of sending him to deportation center, or instead of sending him to immigration center or something else, they sent him back to work, where his criminal mindset led to violent attack. Same case with respect to this Iryna Zarutska. The person who attacked her is a person of African American origin who was jailed, or who was on the convict of criminal charges for almost 7 to 8 times. Despite that, he was released from the court, and the reason for this was he was mentally ill or mentally unstable. That was the reason given by the judge, who acquitted him of more than 6 to 7 charges. And what did he do? He came back outside of the jail and he killed another person, another innocent person. Because of the failure of immigration policies and because of the failure of the judiciary, innocent people's lives are at the risk. Okay. Next, criminal justice weakness. That is, repeated offenders slip through due to flaws in the bail, release, and mental health assessments. This is what happened in Iryna Zarutska case. Next, mental health and homelessness. Many attackers show untreated mental illnesses or unstable living conditions with inadequate support systems. Next is public safety concerns. That is, rising insecurity in transit systems and public spaces fuel the public anxiety even more. Next is political polarization. One of the major reasons behind rising hate crimes or hate speech against immigrants or Indians specifically. That is, harsh rhetoric around immigration and crime is amplifying the divisions and fears feed into violence narratives. So the politicians, mainly the Donald Trump and Trump supporters or MAGA supporters, they are against immigration. They are against immigration and they connect immigration with crime. As a result, hate against immigrants is on the rise. And this recent incident where the immigrant killed an Indian person of origin proves the fact that immigrants are indeed very violent, immigrants are indeed committing the crimes, which is adding more fuel to the rhetoric of Trump and his supporters. So what was the reactions then? Political leadership, a strong condemnation from the senior leaders with emphasis on immigration enforcement and stronger deportation mechanisms. Donald Trump said, we have been too soft on the immigrants. Too soft on immigrants. We should have stringent laws. We should not be very soft on these immigrant criminals. Okay? Immigrant criminals. So this is what the leaders of USA are reacting to this Nagamallaiah murder case. Law enforcement, that is the Department of Homeland Security and local police, have taken custody of the accused, highlighting gaps in the system of handling undocumented immigrants and repeat offenders. Next, public debate, that is rising concerns about lax immigration policies, insufficient mental health interventions, and gap in the criminal justice. Okay, so all these things have to be addressed because many people are getting awareness about the reasons behind these attacks. Next is Indian and diaspora. For Indian government, the Consulate General and the Houston and the officials have expressed condolences and are assisting the bereaved families. And Indian community, outpouring of grief and concern. Diaspora organizations are demanding greater accountability and protection to Indian people abroad. They are protesting against USA and they are protesting against USA as well as India. USA for failure to protect them and India for failure to support them. Okay. Next, its implications for India and USA relations. That is, obviously, India and US relations are already on the down because of Trump and his tariff policies, where he imposed a tariff of 50% on Indian goods. So it is already on the low, and these incidences are aggravating the loss of trust between India and USA. It is, for India and USA relations, the safety of Indian nationals and diaspora becomes a diplomatic concern. Could lead to bilateral engagement and on consular protection, law enforcement cooperation, and immigrant security. Next is for the Indian diaspora, heightened sense of vulnerability, particularly among the students and working professionals. Next, rising fear of hate crimes and random violence may impact the mobility, settlement decisions, and mental well-being. Now, people think twice before going to USA and settle there. So, these are the implications. and for US domestic policies, incidents being politicized around immigration policy and the border control. Now this will add more fuel to Trump and its supporters. It will support what Trump and his supporters have been criticizing about immigrants all these years. Next, sharp rhetoric risks polarization, potentially aggravating xenophobic sentiments against immigrant communities, including the Indians. The person who committed crime here was an immigrant. The person who was the victim here was also an immigrant. But what will this incident going to lead to? It is going to lead to more xenophobic hate against immigrants and especially Indians again. Next, global concerns highlights a pattern of insecurity for immigrants and refugees, raising questions about inclusivity, multiculturalism, and adequacy of safety nets in the advanced democracies. So, world is moving towards protectionism, moving towards uniculturalism. From the multicultural world is moving towards a protectionist or unicultural world because of the issues raised on immigrants, because of the crimes committed by immigrants, and also because of the rhetoric that is created by the politicians. Next, way forward, bilateral engagement is needed. That is, India can engage with US authorities for a structural mechanism to ensure diaspora safety. Next is community outreach. That is, stronger collaboration between diaspora organizations, universities, and law enforcement agencies so that the safety of the Indian diaspora, especially the students who often go missing and then they are found dead. So this has to be addressed, and policy measures in the USA. Strengthening hate crime laws, better immigration enforcement, and improved mental health interventions. And finally, awareness and support. Indian missions abroad should expand helplines, legal aid, and awareness campaigns for students and workers. And also, back home in India should focus on hygiene, should focus on regulating the social media. Okay, regulating social media. One of the recent trends in social media is that any person or any YouTuber or any influencer, Instagram or IG, anyone, okay, Twitter, etc., they have found a new trick. What is the trick? To earn money, what they can do is, the simple trick is trigger Indians. Simple trick is trigger Indians. How? By just simple x.com post or any Instagram reel. This is going to result in many of the people falling for this rage bait. They call it as rage bait, where you create sort of rage and it will result in people reacting to that particular incident. So you know that in x.com and Instagram, how is the money paid? It is paid based on the engagement. So now more people, because of the rage bait, start replying to this post, start giving them publicity, negative or positive. It is publicity of publicity itself, so which will result in engagement. The more engagement will result to more views, the more views will result to more money. So either they will support India or either they will trigger India. They know the trick to get more views is mentioning Indians. So now what should Indians do is, Indians should not fall for this trap. We should not go and react to all these things that are not necessary. We can develop ourselves, we can focus on our hygiene, we can focus on developing India instead of replying to these trolls on the online. Okay, so these are the issues why Indian immigrants are facing violences and India is facing hate speech on not only in USA but the globalized as well. So this is the topic which I want to discuss with you. If you like the video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any notification. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind and Jai Karnataka.